Welcome back to Steel City Sports. So today we're continuing our series where we rank each NBA franchise's top 10 players. We've already done a video on the Lakers and the Warriors. So if you want to see those videos, there's going to be a link in the description to the playlist. Today we're doing Boston. This is one of the most storied franchises in the history of the NBA and one of the biggest sports brands on the globe. I do have to admit up front though, I did kind of step out of my comfort zone with this list because I usually tend to focus more on modern era, what's considered quote-unquote the modern era of the NBA, which is 1979 and on, which is when the three-point line was implemented. A lot of the Celtics history, a lot of their great players played before what was considered the modern era in the NBA. So I definitely had to step a little bit outside of my comfort zone looking at guys from the 50s, 60s, and 70s. But obviously, when you're ranking the best Celtics of all time, you're going to have a lot of guys from the postmodern era on here. So I will admit up front, not my strongest area of expertise, but I still thought it'd be fun to make the list. So let's get into it. Kicking off the list at number 10, we have Kevin Garnett, the big ticket, who played 6 seasons in Boston from 2008 to 2013. His averages with the Celtics are 16 points per game, 8 rebounds per game, and 3 assists per game. He was an NBA champion, a 5-time All-Star, and a 1-time member of the All-NBA first team with the Boston Celtics. And I know he didn't win the Finals MVP in 2008, but I think you can make a strong argument that he was actually the best player on that Celtics team. He was definitely their most integral piece, especially you look at what he brought to the defensive side of the ball. And I think he was just really able to showcase his talent on the biggest scale because obviously he was no longer in his athletic prime like he was in Minnesota, but Boston is where he really was able to legitimately compete and obviously win a title. And just such a fascinating piece of his career because, like I said, he was no longer like in his athletic prime, but he was really just able to showcase his IQ and how he really was one of the smartest players and one of the best defensive players in the history of the league and was really dominant for a good stretch in Boston. You know, people think that he was on his last leg when he went there. No, he still had a lot of gas left in the tank and, like we said, led to them winning a title. A lot of people think had he not gotten hurt in 2009, they would have repeated. At number 9, we have Sam Jones, who played 12 seasons with the Boston Celtics from 1958 to 1969. He averaged 18 points per game, 5 rebounds per game, and 3 assists per game, was a 10-time NBA champion and a 5-time All-Star while wearing the green. At number 8, we have Robert Parish, who spent 14 seasons with the Boston Celtics from 1981 to 1994. His averages with the Celtics are 17 points per game, 10 rebounds per game, and 2 assists per game. He's a 3-time NBA champion and a 9-time All-Star with the Celtics. Obviously, an integral piece to those great 80s Celtics teams. One of the best third options in the history of the league. Had a massive impact on the defensive side of the ball while being one of the best rebounders to ever play the game. And you got to give him a lot of credit for his longevity. He's still the current record holder for most NBA games ever played. LeBron might break that, but as for now, Parish still holds that. Played in the NBA till he was 43 years old. At number 7, we have Kevin McHale, who played 13 seasons with the Boston Celtics from 1981 to 1993. His averages with the Celtics are 18 points per game, 7 rebounds per game, and 2 assists per game. 3-time NBA champion, 7-time All-Star, a 2-time Sixth Man of the Year, and was one of the best Robins in the history of the league, obviously to Larry Bird being the Batman. And everything we just said about Robert Parish, you know, Kevin McHale was just as vital to those incredible Celtics 80s teams. Coming in at number 6, we have Bob Koozie, who played 13 seasons with the Boston Celtics from 1951 to 1963. His averages with the Celtics are 18 points per game, 5 rebounds per game, and 8 assists per game. He was a 6-time NBA champion. Never won a Finals MVP. However, the award didn't exist back when he played. He was a 1-time league MVP, a 13-time All-Star, and a 2-time member of the All-NBA first team. I feel like some Celtics fans might get kind of mad at me that I put him at 6 because I looked at a couple other lists when I was making mine, and some lists had him as like the 3rd or 4th best Celtic, and I'm not denying he has an incredible resume. However, he just played so long ago, I felt like some of the other players were a little more deserving. Like I said, I value more of like the modern era, and the time period in which he played in is just so night and day compared to the sport of basketball as we know it today. I mean, it's practically not even the same sport back when he played. I mean, Dwight D. Eisenhower was president whenever he was playing basketball. It was just a different sport entirely. You know, obviously no 3-point line, no shot clock. There were like 6 teams in the NBA. But he still obviously has to be on the list just for being a Celtics icon, and he has a phenomenal resume. Kicking off the top 5, we have Paul Pierce, who played 15 seasons with the Boston Celtics from 1999 to 2013. His averages with the Celtics are 22 points per game, 6 rebounds per game, and 4 assists per game. Obviously won an NBA title in 2008 where he was the Finals MVP and was a 10-time All-Star with the Boston Celtics. One of the most prolific scorers of the 2000s, one of the clutchest players of the modern era, the reason why he got the name The Truth, and went head-to-head with some of the greatest players in the history of the league. Went head-to-head with Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and won playoff series against all of those guys. So might not have the greatest resume, but he's competed with some of the best and got the better of them. At number 4, we have Dave Cowens, who played 10 seasons with the Boston Celtics from 1971 to 1980, averaged 18 points per game, 14 rebounds per game, 4 assists per game, was a 2-time NBA champion, won a Finals MVP, was an 8-time All-Star, and was one of the best players of the 1970s. At number 3, we have John Havlicek, who played 16 seasons with the Boston Celtics from 1963 to 1978. His averages with Boston are 21 points per game, 6 rebounds per game, and 5 assists per game. Was an 8-time NBA champion, 1-time Finals MVP, a 13-time All-Star, and made the All-NBA first team 4 times in his career. And I feel like he's one of the more underrated legends because for the first, part of his career, took a backseat to Bill Russell. But after Bill Russell retired, he took over the mantle and won some titles as the clear leader and is definitely one of the most important players in Celtics history. At number 2, we have Bill Russell, who played 13 seasons with the Boston Celtics from 1957 to 1969. His averages are 15 points per game, 23 rebounds per game, 4 assists per game, NBA record, 11 NBA championships. Never won a Finals MVP, but the award didn't exist when he played. I'm pretty sure the year after he retired was whenever that became an actual award. Won 5 league MVPs, was a 12-time All-Star, and a 3-time member of the All-NBA team, and widely regarded as one of, if not the greatest defenders in the history of basketball, and also obviously had a massive impact on the league as a whole, not just as a Celtic, but growing the NBA. And if you put him at 1, I don't really have a great argument against putting him at 1. The only thing that for me holds Bill Russell back from being 1 is just I'm not a big fan of the era he played in. Like I said earlier, I tend to lean more towards the more modern players. I don't know if that's fair or not. I just feel like the skill level was definitely higher in the more modern era, but Bill Russell, you cannot deny the impact he's had. He made my list as top 25 greatest players ever. I'm pretty sure he made 11th on there. So one of the best players in the history of the league. And the greatest Celtic of all time is Larry Bird. Played 13 seasons with the Celtics from 1980 to 1992. Put up 24 points per game, 10 rebounds per game, 6 assists per game. 3-time NBA champion, a 2-time Finals MVP. The last player to ever win 3 regular season MVPs in a row was Larry Bird. 12-time All-Star and a 9-time member of the All-NBA first team. One of the most versatile players in the history of the league. One of the best on-court leaders in the history of the game. One of the best competitors ever. Made my top 25 players list as the 7th best player in the history of basketball. So that's been my list. You let me know yours down in the comments if you made it this far. I appreciate you listening. Please like and subscribe.